Good evening, guys. Welcome to edspread YouTube channel. I hope you guys are doing well. And this is our day 4 in our web development bootcamp. So far, we have completed our HTML part and an overview about CSS and introduction to it. So today we'll dig in more into the CSS part. And for the newcomers, the attendance link will be given in the chat box and fill it so that you'll be certified with participation certificate at the end of the bootcamp. And stay tuned till the end of the bootcamp so that you'll be given a project. On completion of the project, you'll be getting a certificate of completion. And and join our WhatsApp groups mentioned in the description box so that you'll be getting all types of resources. You'll be getting this PPT and some any other links which will be provided to you. And okay, then let's get started about today's topic. Today we'll be discussing about CSS. So I say I gave you a quite gist of a CSS. So it's a cascading style sheet. It's used to design our web pages. um, okay, let's come into the main part. So CSS are of three types, just inline CSS, and then we have internal CSS, and then we have external CSS. So these are the three types of CSS. So let's first discuss about the inline CSS. Inline CSS is nothing but we'll be writing the CSS code inside the tags present in our code. So let's open VS Code, create a new file day4. Wait a minute. I guess it's better if we change in the folder itself. Let's go to our folder, go to web dev. Let's create a new folder saying day4. Yeah. Line CSS. Inline.html, that's sufficient. Let's get a boilerplate. Sorry. The topic which we are discussing is inline CSS. So let's give our title to it. Let's save this and copy the path. Yeah, there you go. And after the title, let's mention our body part. Let's write any text. Let's choose off from our previous videos. We created a project, right? So let me give my project here. Let's take this path, paste it over here. So this is the previous project which I demonstrated to you. So let's apply our inline CSS to this. So for applying inline CSS, you have to go inside tag. Let's go to the body tag, and you have the style attribute. Inside style attribute, you have many other attributes which I'll be discussing with you. Now let us go with the basic background color attribute. So wait, let me write it entirely. So coming to syntax of CSS. So first this is the selector, and this is the selector, and after selector you have to give an attribute. After attribute you have to give a certain value. Take this as a background color, and a colon followed by the value to your attribute. So let us take any value. Let's take this value and keep a semicolon. Now save this and run here. You'll be getting a nice background color. So before explaining about the code, I want to make you download few extensions. You can see that when I mention a color, I'm getting an preview about the color, about the entire texture of color and um, detail. So to get this, you have to go to your extension and click VS Code Pigments. So on downloading this and enabling, you'll be getting an overview and certain more extra information about it, so that you need not implement it for always to check the overview of color. You can directly check in your code itself. This is pretty handy for us. And you can see here that just a minute, yeah. Our background color is changing for the entire web page because we are keeping in the body tag. Body tag comes under this entire text, so that's the reason our entire background color is being changed. Now if I change our style in our HTML, in our h1 tag, let's go for style, background color, and let's use some different, let's say this color. Now save this and run. You can see only our h1 tag has the green color compared to the other pigments. Inline Css is nothing but you can style the certain tag present in our code. So the main disadvantages of this is that when you want to style your entire h1 elements, because usually this is our h1 tag, and let us say this also is our h1 tag, we keep our all h1 tags in the same styles, and all paragraph tags on the same style, and entire background of different style. So now if I am having, let us say I'm having 10 h1 tags, and if I want to style those 10 h1 tags, then I have to copy this code, this part of code for 10 types, and paste it in 10 different h1 tags. So this is pretty hard, so that's the reason inline css should not be used in such cases. And when you want to change the bulk value, like now I have wanted to change the entire body, then you can directly go to your body tag and change the value. So in such cases this might come handy. So that's it about the inline css. Let's remove the changes and save this. Yeah, it's like it's normal. So you can see the CSS syntax over here. This is the selector. Here the selector which we have taken is the body, and then we use the property which is a background color in our previous case. That's the property, and the value we took it as lime green or something. So that's the value for our property. So this is the basic syntax of the CSS. Yeah, and we complete our inline CSS. Now let's go for internal CSS. So in our internal CSS, we create a separate tag for it, a style tag. Here also we are using the style command, but instead of writing this for each paragraph elements or for each h1 elements, we can write them for entire h1 tags or entire p tags. So to get that, go to your head. You can write even after the head tag or even inside the body tag, but it's better if you write inside the head tag, because I'll tell you the reason. Let's take style over here. So there you go, you got your style tag. And now let us say that this is my Among Us, and now I want to change the attributes of only h1 elements. So I have two h1 elements, and I want to change their, let us say, the color of the text. Now rather than background, let's change the color of the text. Now in usual in our inline css, then we have to go to our h1 tag over here, and here we have to keep a style attribute and go to another h1 and keep here style attribute. So you are copying the same code twice. So instead of here, all you can do is go to your style tags and press h1 with the semicolons, and inside the semicolons you can give certain actions. Let us say I want to change the color, right? Color, and let's give a light sea green color. Now save this and run. You can see the color of the text has been changed, and you have mentioned only for a single h1 tag. but it has changed for the tags which all has written with h1. Now if you change this same with a p tag and give some other color, let's say light yellow, save this and run. See, actually it's light color, it's not visible. Yes, you can see it specifies that these all are the paragraph tags, and yeah, you can say that whatever paragraph tag, and I want to apply these changes to all paragraph tags. So in those situations, it's better to opt for internal CSS rather than the inline CSS. Okay, so let's take a challenge over here in our internal CSS. Firstly, let us give a horizontal line between here. Sorry, before the game features. Yeah, here's my game features. I'm giving an horizontal line, save and run. You're getting a nice horizontal line, but this is pretty old, you know. I want to make it a few stylish horizontal line, like in this case. You can see this is my horizontal line actually, but there's only few dots and it looks pretty cool. So I want to make my old horizontal line to this. So we have many attributes in this which you can Google it later, but I'll be explaining about the main tags. So firstly, about what property should I change? It's the HR property. So head back to your style sheets and press HR and go to your HR property, and whatever changes you made will be reflected on the HR property. So firstly, let us see, we have a border property, and let us search about border MDN. I usually get cool results in MDN, so I prefer MDN web docs. Now you came to border attribute, and you can see border is this border, you know, the surrounding part of our text. So it's solid over here, which dash some other text. So this is the border, and this is the properties inside border. Let us go for border style and check this out. It is none. This is a dotted border. This is an inset. So now by seeing this, you can see that they're all dots, and when you go for dotted border, these are also dots. So that's what you want, right? A border tag. Now let us change a border style over here. Border style to dotted. Now save this and run. Sorry, this one, right? Yeah, run. You might feel that this is not at all changed, but when you try to zoom in, you can see that these are actually dots, but pretty less dots, less in width compared to a previous dot. So now what we have to do in the sense, we have to increase the width and the size. That's one of there's actually three cases. One case is that you can see our HR line is not until the end. It's at a certain middle text, you know, it's not covering the entire part. But whereas you come here, it's covering the entire web page. That's our first property, and the second property is that the size of them is larger. Whereas when you come here, the size is pretty small that you can't even say whether there are dots or not. And the third thing is that the color. You can see there's a slightly grayish color and this is slightly blackish color. So let's change these three properties. So firstly, let us change the width. So go to your core and go for width. And a width, height, or any other attributes, you have to give them in pixels. So let us say it's around 30 pixels. Save this and run. We got a little border over here. And another important thing is that usually we mention in pixels, but there's also another measurement, another quantity to express the width, which is the percentage. Now suppose I have mentioned the 10%. Let's say this and run. So what's meant by 10%? 10% is nothing, but compared to the whole page, you are taking the width as 10% from the width of the whole page. Now, let us say this is the width of whole page, and this is the 10% of the width present in the whole page. So, what's the use of mentioning the percentage? So, this kind can be used in dynamic inputs. Suppose, let us have merged our two programs, and now, where's my chart? Yeah. Now just observe the width of this. I'm trying to compress this. You can see that the width is actually decreased. Now you can see with my cursor it's going at this distance, and now when I bring it, it's a larger distance. So let us say that this is your laptop screen, and now you are viewing this Among Us page, and you're having a width of this. And now after you open in your iPad and the size decreased, now you're opening in your phone, it's slightly decreased. So it's been adjusting according to your web page size. That's the reason we are mentioning percentage. Now if you try to mention it as pixels, then it's static. It's remains stagnant, and this doesn't change. See, the width is it's changing its position, but it doesn't is not changing its width. So when you viewing in your phone, it's accurate, but if you try to view in your laptop, then you can see it's going at a corner that it's not even visible. It's becoming quite small. So whenever you use the width, try to use in a percentage symbol. So that's about width. And the another feature which we saw is, let me increase the size. Yeah, another thing which we observed, the width completed, and the second case is about the border width. Now you can see this is our border, and the border sizes are being changed. This entire text is the width of the page. That's the reason we are using only width. But this thing is comes under border, and the width of the border has been changed. So let us search about the border width. This border width. There. Now, suppose I'm selecting this. You can see the red text is a border, and we are having four inputs over here. So the first attribute comes under the top, and the second attribute comes under the right. The third attribute comes under the bottom, and the last fourth attribute comes under the left side. On changing these values, the dimensions of the border will also be changed. Now, let us assume, yeah, this is a border. Actually, this might feel a single line, but it's not. It's a box in the same way, and inside it's empty. You're having a text here, but over there it's empty. So no, to make it, it's a two dimension, right? To change it from two dimension to a one dimension, you have to remove one quantity. So in here you have to remove the width of the rectangle. You have to make the width as 0. So width comes under the right and left. So here 4 pixels is the right and 12 pixels is the left, which has to be 0. And 0 is the top one and 8 pixels is the bottom one. You can mention one of the attribute as some 10 pixels and the other one as 0. So let's try this. Border width. So the top, the first attribute comes in the top right. So let us take it as a 10 pixels, and then 0, and then 0 pixels again, a 0 pixels again, a 0 pixels. This mentions that only there's a top portion of the border and left all are empty. Now let us save this. There you go. You got a border. Between the border attributes, you got almost similar. The only thing is that the width is slightly bigger compared to this. So let us change the width up to 10%. Yeah, absolutely fine. Now let's change the color. Color we can, and here we want to change the border attribute, right? So border, and what quantity we want to change? Color. So border color. Let us take it as a gray. Okay. We got ourselves a beautiful line. So actually I'm explaining this so that you can also implement for other text and for other attributes. There are many more attributes which I cannot explain everything. You have to Google yourself, so when you encounter such a situation. But all you can do is check the basic attributes about the width or the style. When you know this much, then you can reduce the width and the color part. So this is about the internal CSS. Let's go to the external. So let me remove this code. So let us check about external CSS. This is the last topic in our CSS types. So in external CSS, what we do in the sense, we'll be creating a separate file which will be with an extension of CSS, and we'll be accessing the elements from that file present in our HTML file. So firstly, let's create a file. Let's say that it's an external .css extension has to be there. And now let's go to our HTML file, and inside the head we have to create a link tag, and inside link you will be having a relation. Rel stands for relation, and this is a style sheet. Now the CSS which we are using over here is a style sheet, hence we are writing it as a style sheet. And we have to provide the URL, right? We can provide by using hyperreference. You have external.css. Now save this and run. Not having any changes because we didn't make any changes in our external CSS file. Now let's make any changes. Let's go for body tag and change the background color. Let's say brown. Now save. There you got your brown color. This is about external CSS. Now let me give a challenge for you. Now let's create an inline CSS over here in the body part saying background, style tag. Inside style tag, let's give a background color. Let's say a type of green. Now head over to the external CSS link. Okay, we have now our inline CSS, and this is our external CSS. So let's create an internal CSS also. Let's change the body tag and its background color to somewhat pink. Now you can see that my inline CSS is somewhat light green, and my internal CSS is a type of pink, and my external CSS is a type of brown. So now on the same body and on the same what we say background color, I'm applying three different colors. So let's see which one will be evaluated. So save this file, and don't forget, now suppose you have made any changes in your external CSS and you have saved your HTML file, and if you run it, and it sometimes will be not finding any changes because you didn't save your external CSS file as well. So while doing this, you have to save both the files and then only run your program. So now after saving, run it. This is a type of green, light sea green, I guess. Yeah, you can see over here the preview of this, and this certainly matches. So our inline CSS is being evaluated, but not the internal and external. And how can we come to this deduction? So you have your Chrome developer tools. Go to your Chrome developer tools, and we can see that now on what part did we apply changes on the body tag. So in here, let's select the body tag. Oh, you can see here it's being striked off, and the only thing which is evaluating is the light screen, because this is the inline CSS and this is the internal CSS and this is the external CSS. There's a certain precedence for this, so whenever the three comes in a combination, first inline CSS will be evaluated and then comes the internal, and if there is no internal, then only where the computer goes for searches for the external CSS and evaluates it. Now, suppose let us say, let's remove this light screen. You'll be seeing, you'll be getting a pinkish color, because followed by the inline CSS, you have to evaluate the internal CSS. So our internal CSS is of a pink. So yes, we are getting the internal CSS, and if we even remove this, then we'll be getting the external CSS. And if you remove even external CSS, then you are getting a white color. How you are getting white color? That's because the default HTML body tag. So when you use the body tag, it has some default features. So this default, in this default features, the background color is white. So if you don't mention any background color, then you'll be getting a white color. And here you can see that this is external CSS, because it's saying that this tag has been taken from the external CSS, and on clicking that you'll be getting your external CSS code as well. So that's about internal CSS, inline CSS and external CSS. So let me say the advantages of external CSS. So mainly we use external CSS in case if we have multiple web pages. Like suppose now here is my first web page and I'm having another web page over here, so that when I press a when I press a certain link over in this website, I'll be directed to another website. Let us say even the code for this website is present here, and usually my h1 tag is this, and this is another h1, and in my new website, let us say this is also an h1 tag. So whatever changes we have in our previous website should also present in our second website, right? Now if you're trying to use your internal CSS, you're writing the body part and background color for this HTML part. Now let us say I'm having another website. Now let us say this is my second website, which is present, which pops up on clicking the link. Now here again I have to use style tag, and again I have to write the same code. So instead of writing this multiple times, I can just use a link over here and copy this link and paste it over here, so that whatever changes made in external CSS will be affected on both this web page as well as this web page. So you'll be not reusing the code two times. Uh, so that's it. So inline CSS can be used for particular element, internal CSS can be used for particular block, external CSS can be used for particular web page or multiple web pages as well. So that's about the types of CSS. Let's check out about the selectors present in our CSS. Yeah, selectors. So there are many kind of selectors, but usually we use classes and IDs. Type is nothing but here. Okay. Here you can see that we're using body tag, and if you want to change your h1 tags, we'll be mentioning h1, and you can do any changes. If you want to change the p tag, you can do so. These are the types which you can do by mentioning the tag names. But whereas if you want certain specific conditions, like suppose I want to change only this p tag, suppose let's say only this p tag, and I don't want other p tags to change, we can use inline CSS, we can use styles, you can use in that way. But what if I want to make the same changes for this para and as well as this para? So let us say this para over here and this para should have the same style changes. So what you'll be doing, you'll create an inline CSS style over here and you'll copy the code and paste it over here. So instead of copy pasting, you can do one thing, create an ID or a class for it. So what are ID and classes? I have basically given an overview about IDs. So let's see what are classes. So classes are also same as IDs. It provides the specification. It gives the name to the tag so that we can access the elements present in the tag. So you can access the elements present in the tag. For IDs, we were using hash symbol, right? I have shown in the HTML, but coming to classes, we'll be using the dot symbol. So when this both are same, why are we having two elements? There's a slight difference. IDs can be used for only specific elements, elements in the sense. Now I have used the ID name over here. Let us say ID is called, I'm saying H1 or let's say H. Now, if I'm using the same ID over here, then I might get an error or I might not display the specified content. So, ID is that which is used only for a single element or a specified element. So, we use IDs only for titles and some other some images so that the title doesn't repeat, right? There will be only one heading title. So, for those kinds, we'll be using IDs, and for others we can use classes. You can suppose I have written class the p tag. Now I'm writing another class over here, and let us say this is p tag. Now this both are same, it doesn't affect our process, so we can use multiple same classes for different tags. Now you can change this classes in your styles tag. Now here I'm having body. Let's keep this body. And for classes we have to use a dot to access them, and the class name is p tag. Let's change the color of the text. Let's make this as a crimson. And for IDs we'll be using hash, and the ID name is h. Let us say the color of the text for this is a dark gray. Now save this and run. So this is a dark gray and this is the crimson color. So that's about the IDs and classes. Usually we use IDs and classes for certain specification for this specific to specify certain elements to change their attributes. Other than color, you'll be having many other attributes, the font size and also the margins. And tomorrow we'll read about the margins, padding, and etc. Now, I guess we have a little bit time. I guess I'll be explaining about margins and those all tomorrow, but I'll just give a quick overview. Wait, let us create a new web page. Now let us copy this. Our document name, let's see, margin, or it can be CSS. In body part, let's give an h1 tag saying company name. Okay. This is a YouTube channel. Now save this and run. Yeah, you got it. Now you can see there's certain what do we say, the extra space we are having over here. So what is this extra space? You can see clearly if I give some background color to it. I'm doing inline CSS style and background color. You can give anything. Let's go for some dark orange. Save this and run. You can see the background color is covering only this element, and top of them there are certain changes. So why we are getting these changes? Whenever you get a dot, you can go for Chrome developer tools are there for you. So that's the reason start using Chrome from CSS, because I'll be using most of times the Chrome developer tools to debug the CSS. Now this is the body tag, and here is my style tag. You're having certain here known as user agent style sheet. User agent style sheet is nothing but the default values set by the Chrome developer tools. What are those default values? So in here you can see the different attributes which I'll explain tomorrow. Just remember this: we have margin, border, padding, and that's it. This is the main element. The main element which is present over here. This is the main, which is 906 and 37. And we can see margin, you're getting a some small orange highlight here. There you go. So that's the margin. It's set to 21 or something, but actually I didn't even use the margin attribute over here, which means there are certain default values for h1 or p tag. Even p tag will be having the distance on above. So how can we change those? Usually we can write it as margin block start. Here we are having, right, we can specify this as 0, or you can also double click here and press 0 on top and bottom, make it 0. You can see it's occupied the entire yeah, it occupied the entire space. Before it was giving certain space, now it's completely occupied. And you can even remove this. So when you try to refresh this, it comes to back normal. So to make it permanently, we have to change in our CSS code itself. So that's it for today. We'll discuss more about the margin, border, padding, everything on tomorrow. So tomorrow is an important class. Don't miss it, because this is where the CSS gets a little tricky. It's actually quite good when you understand it. It's even better than HTML, because HTML is just coding. I mean, coding in the sense just using some tags. It doesn't have any no logic, but CSS has a bit logic. And tomorrow, let's see about it. And before ending, I'll just give a quick overview. We have, this is the syntax of our CSS. We'll be having a selector, the property, and the value. And for inline, we need not specify selector explicitly. This is itself the selector. We are not specifying it explicitly. This is the property. Background color is the property, and dark orange is its value. And after that, we learned there are three types of CSS: inline, internal, and external. And when come to precedence, inline has the highest precedence, followed by internal and then external. And now we have read about selectors. In selectors, we'll be reading about classes and IDs. Yeah, so classes can be accessed by using dot, and IDs can be accessed by using hash. You can see, so this is an ID, this is accessed by using hash, and this is a class which is accessed by using dot. So that's it for today. Let's meet tomorrow and discuss more about CSS. Please share, subscribe, and like the video. Thank you.